You're listening to the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com, on iTunes, Facebook, and Twitter, and take your first step into a larger world. Welcome back. It's episode 78 of the Tumbling Saber Podcast. My name's Kyle.
My name's Corey.
And I'm happier than a bloated puppy at a fire hydrant factory. Nailed it!
Oh, wow.
I got a whole bunch of those lined up for intros for every week. I needed to spice things up, so you guys can look forward to those gems coming at you.
Do you really think they're that happy? It's almost like torture for them. It's like they just have to stop and smell everything, every scent.
Oh, I think that's paradise. I think smelling is like heaven.
I guess it depends what.
No, they love this thing. You have dogs, you know. They roll in that stuff.
I guess.
They want to live in it.
So guys, how we doing? Everybody's doing well?
Not too shabby.
I'm great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, guys, Top Gun 2. The title is Top Gun Maverick. Like, I'm excited. Like, I was. But Top Gun Maverick? Like, does Tom Cruise have to make everything about him?
But isn't it like, it must be a transition movie. Have we seen the script? It must be like, see, at first I was like, okay, he'll play the Viper character. You know, like the leader.
Sure.
The savvy old and like pass the torch. But apparently that's not Tom Cruise enough for Tom Cruise, and he's going to be front and center.
Yeah.
He just can't let it go.
No, he can't.
Top Gun 3 will be shot in like 2040 and it'll still be about him.
I'll still go see it.
He still loves the action, man. Can't get enough.
Well, it's just some actors, like, they go through these waves and these peaks and valleys, right, where they do a lot of work. Will Ferrell's a perfect example. Like, they're hot for like 5 or 6 years, and they just crank out 2 movies a year for such a long time, and then they disappear. Mike Myers was another example where, you know, during the Austin Powers years and the what was that really terrible one he did that sort of had him cast
ruined his
out
career, The Love Guru?
Yeah. I don't think we've heard from him
man.
since.
Yeah. Well, we have, but not much.
Like, I think that was the movie that was like, okay, you need to, I don't know if it was his own call or one of his agents or just all signs point to, but it's like, okay, Mike, we're kind of done with you now. Just take a step back, please. Ben Stiller's another one. Seems to happen to a lot of comedic actors.
Yeah, it's the flavor of the month.
Or it's like their brand of humor just wears thin after a while.
Well, that's it. Like you say, like Vince Vaughn's kind of another example too. They like saturate the market at one point, and it's just like, okay, enough. Like Kevin Hart's like in the middle of that right now, I think.
It's funny though that you mentioned.
So.
Yeah, well, Kevin Hart, I'd say, is even on the out. But Tom Cruise. Sort of trying to circle it back around. In an article I read today, they mentioned him as the example of like actors who do their own stunts. It was talking about Gal Gadot doing a lot of her own stunts as well, apparently. But they reference Tom Cruise. Oh, I saw that movie, by the way, today, guys.
Wonder Woman, you saw it. How was that?
DC, you've done it again.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You weren't a fan?
You know, it's got a lot of hype too, so expectations are a lot. I didn't hate it or anything. It's got a lot of positive, but overall I walked away disappointed. It's still sinking in, mind you.
Was it just that your expectations got the better of you, or you can identify things that stink about it?
I don't want to complain specifically about stuff yet, because like I said, it's mostly plot stuff that I have a problem with, and that sometimes, especially with me, I need to digest that before I really formulate my opinion because I can come and do 180s on things sometimes. But yeah, no, visually it lived up to expectations. I liked her more than I thought I would. Sort of my favorite, the best stuff was like glossed over almost, but like, yeah, the story itself, like what the storyline sort of centered around, because it's still early enough, I won't give any spoilers. To me, was a bit disappointing.
Well, there's always part 2.
Yeah, and like I said, it does have a lot going on. The action is awesome. It's a super good looking movie, and not just because she's beautiful, which she is, but it's got a lot going for it. But DC, man, I don't know. It's like they just can't seem to like. I don't know. It's like they're missing a couple of ingredients, or they got to bake it a little longer. I'm not exactly sure.
It seems like a very messy process over there. I know the guys at the Nerd Room could probably shed some light on how the structure is set up over there, but my goodness, it seems like they took so long to get going with their movie universe after Marvel kicked off theirs so successfully. And it feels like they went back to the drawing board 3-4 times, and I'm probably exaggerating. But it feels like they took way too long to get things going, and then when they did, it still was very coolly received. Like I'm in the minority that really has enjoyed it so far, and I imagine I'll enjoy Wonder Woman as well. But my goodness, it's not at all. Yeah, it's just not at all been received very well.
Well, I still say Batman vs Superman is kind of a mess, but I still, it's a movie you need to, even for you, James. I think you would just need to take a reset on it and watch like one of the new extended editions. It still does have similar problems with the film, but
I was wondering, in the extended edition, did they completely rewrite the ending?
No.
I still haven't seen the extended edition, but it's one of those things where people said, like, a lot of people that didn't like the original cut watch the extended and go, "Oh, geez, it's so much better." But then again, it's 3.5 hours.
Yeah, there's just too much going on in that movie, man. Too much going on. But anyway, listen to this, guys. I think I told you. I did tell you this on the weekend, Kyle. I went to that store that had all this Star Wars Black Series stuff on sale, marked down like $10 a pop for the Legends, the Black Series stuff. And yeah, the shelves were kind of teeming last week. I managed to pick up quite I think 3 or 4 figures. And I was like, okay, we'll be all right, because this place is really a bit off the map. And I went back this week, and yeah, the pegs were really pillaged quite badly. I still managed to find an Ahsoka for your daughter, or you, whatever. I picked up a few for myself as well. I got some characters that I really wouldn't necessarily get if they were regular price, but yeah, I think I picked up like another 5-6 figures. Got the Obi-Wan 40th anniversary. That was pretty sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, I asked Rob Cast as well. He was over from the TSW Roundtable. He was over at Comic-Con, somewhere in the GTA.
Well, he was at Niagara Falls Comic-Con.
It was Niagara, eh?
Yeah. He had himself a weekend, man.
Yeah, I saw
some
that.
Great pictures coming out of there.
Yeah, definitely. He was on the hunt a bit for me, and they had the art. Dude, I had this in my hand at one point, and then I heard from the boys at the Nerd Room that the R2s were shipped 1 per box per store, and I had this bad boy in my hand, and it was a toss-up between him and Han Solo, and I'm just kicking myself because I saw Han Solo afterwards going into other stores, so I could have purchased them at a later date. So that was kind of upsetting, but $75 they're scalping them off now.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. You should see your X-Wing pilot, how much that's going for.
I'm not interested in looking because I'm not selling it. Now that you've told me, though, I'm going to probably definitely check it out.
That's kind of ridiculous.
Well, that price will come down. It's hot now. That's why it's up. If you wait 6 months and maybe a year from now, that price will be dropped in half. Anyway, so how about some Star Wars news? There's not a whole lot. Actually, there's a lot of small things, so I don't know how long this is going to take us. But we'll start with Leia once again. Here she goes again. And the source of this story, it comes out of Poe Dameron issue 14, which came out a month ago. And it's surprising to me that it's really only creeping out into fandom now. But I wonder if, because of what's happened with Carrie Fisher, if they're using now all avenues to lay the groundwork for how they're going to deal with her. So I won't read the whole sequence, but there's a scene in Poe Dameron 14 where it's a funeral for one of Poe's co-pilots, and later on in the scene, Leia, General Organa, says, "Very good, Poe. I knew you had a brain up there somewhere. The truth is, I can't let all of this rest on my shoulders forever. I honestly don't know how long we'll have to, well, resist. The rebellion went on for decades, and I'm sorry to say, probably sooner than we'd like, I'll be luminous." Now, what an ominous quote. Like, everybody knows what that seems to be foreshadowing, but do you guys think that this is exactly the route they're doing and trying to paint a picture of what's happening in either episode 8 or 9?
Well, I think when you look at that scene, the smile on Leia's face when she says that a luminous beings quote, that almost says it all to me right there. It's possible. I mean, why not lay the groundwork? I know a lot of people have been complaining that Poe's character really didn't get a lot of substance in the last film. Like, he was kind of just like this hotshot, like hot guy that was a pilot, like an ace pilot. But when you look at him, and even what Leia says about him, first of all, he brings her to tears, and she talks about not only having a brain, but a heart. And that's what the Resistance at this point kind of needs, someone who feels with their heart and is fierce and a really strong leader. And I think that's really possible from Poe, and it could possibly go in that direction. I mean, why not? You have this amazing, talented actor in Oscar Isaac. Why not? You got to take advantage of that at one point, right? Like, from an emotional standpoint, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody would argue that Poe could not eventually be the leader of the Resistance, if not, the top dog there. I thought, and I believe this is somewhere established in canon, that Force ghosting was for Jedi only who really practiced at it. Now, and they've also gone so far as to say that Leia has not really done any Force training at all, except for little bits and bobs here and there with Luke. So, do they retcon that and squeeze it in so that, whoops, she actually did train a whole lot with Luke, specifically on Force ghosting? And, well, that's one question. And the other is, should they Force ghost her? I mean, should this be a Jedi-only thing, James?
I think it should be a Jedi-only thing, and I hope I'm not, like, offending Carrie Fisher fans when I say that, but as much as a small part of me sort of wouldn't mind. No, not even that small part of me doesn't really want to see it. I think it's a Jedi thing. And I think they'd have to do a lot of retconning to make that something that she's able to do. Because it's not just a Jedi thing like moving things with the Force. Like, every Jedi seems to be able to do it. Like, this is a pretty select crowd.
Yeah, this is a very select crowd. I mean, nobody was able to do this for thousands of years as Jedi. And then Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Luke, Anakin, maybe Leia? I mean, Corey,
yeah.
are they going to do this with Leia? Are they going to Force ghost her?
The best way I see it being accomplished would be kind of like the way it was at the end of Jedi. Now, if they don't do it, I think that's a missed opportunity. And I only say that because, she's the daughter of the Chosen One. She's quite powerful in the Force, even though she doesn't necessarily practice it. So once she becomes a luminous being at one point, she's one with the Force. The Force is with her. It just takes a little nudge, maybe from a few mutual friends, that push her in the right direction. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily something that has to be practiced before death, or is practiced before death.
Don't you remember the Ahsoka novel where Obi-Wan was struggling with this? Obi-Wan. And I guess everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. Maybe Leia takes to this like a fish to water, but Obi-Wan had a real tough time just contacting Qui-Gon. Eventually he got it, but my goodness, this is a tough one. I know over at Lucasfilm they're probably going to be looking for ways to write Leia out and give her a fitting and satisfying end, and I think a lot of people will feel very warm and fuzzy if she ends up being a luminous being. But boy, that, like James said, this takes a little bit of retconning to make it fit, because this is supposed to be a Jedi only thing, and they did say that she did not spend a whole lot of time with Luke training. So,
well, again,
yeesh.
I think it's the whole fact that she's that close to the heart of the Force, really. Like, I don't think any Force sensitive person can just go and do that. Like, it's Leia. She's a Skywalker.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
Corey, we
things-
never see her
things
use the
shouldn't
Force
just-
in any way, shape, or form, man. Like, we don't see her like pick up her coffee. So like, this is a pretty big like.
Well, we know that she's going to use it. Well, we don't know anything really yet, but we've heard rumors that she's going to use it in 8. She's got a minimal training, I think. Very.
But this is
minimalistic.
the trick of all tricks.
Yeah,
This
but
was becoming more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
But you at first you're talking about Obi-Wan having a hard time with it, communing with Qui-Gon, but that's when he's still living. Like, if once you become a luminous being, maybe it all kind of comes together a lot easier, especially if you're pushed in the right direction from like people like Yoda, Obi-Wan. If they're
But a
they're
lot
trying to
of
help
Jedi
you.
died after Qui-Gon figured it out. A lot of Jedi died, and none of them were able, with all of their Jedi like enlightenment, they weren't able to.
All
do
of
it.
them died.
Well, maybe they didn't know about it, right? Like, I don't think none of the
Qui-Gon
Jedi
could have
really
showed
know
up and
about it.
talked to them about it, man.
Yeah, but I think Qui-Gon was still figuring it out. Like, Qui-Gon manages to finally get in touch with Yoda at one point in the Clone Wars.
I don't know. I got a lot of problems with what you're saying, dude.
No,
No, this is very tricky. This is a slippery slope, and I don't want to. Again, James, you said it. We don't want to insult Leia or Carrie Fisher or fans. It's not about that. It's about how far backwards are you going to bend to make this work, and it seems like this is going to be a real stretch. I don't know. Maybe they get Daddy involved, where if Leia dies, maybe Anakin can somehow reach to the Force and pull her over into the Force spirit plane. That I don't know if that makes sense, if they can do that.
Well, that's
But
another thing
otherwise-
too. You had mentioned it
Jeez.
too, Kyle. Like what? Like someone kind of raised this, and this is just getting, for me personally, it's getting a little too technical. But the fact, like, I guess they struggle with this form of the Force, using the Force. But again, in Return of the Jedi, we see Anakin comes back right away. He's a Force ghost on Endor. So people were
Yeah,
saying,
but
"Ooh,
he's
that
the
was a
chosen
little."
one.
Exactly, but she's the daughter of the chosen one. Who's to say it's not going to happen? Right? It's not going to, like, she's gonna, if she does, her character does pass away. It's not going to happen right away. I would. See
How's
it
Wayne
being-
Gretzky's kid at hockey, dude?
I don't know.
Terrible.
How was his kid at baseball? Well, he's pretty good at baseball, but he was drafted by the Cubs, but that's it. He didn't get any further than that. Just because your father is good at something doesn't mean you are.
No,
We
okay.
know, we know Luke and Leia are strong in the Force. We know that,
Exactly.
but they're not chosen ones.
No, but they're strong in the Force.
So is Obi-Wan, and he still had to practice that Force ghosting thing like a madman. And again, maybe at some point they're going to squeeze in a novel somewhere saying that Leia, this is the one thing that she practiced. Luke, she didn't spend much time with Luke, but this is what she focused on.
And once-
Maybe they shoehorn that in.
Because
But
Force
you
ghosting's
would
a whole
think.
new. It's a whole new thing for Jedi as well. So, like, maybe as they progress in learning how to communicate, they can kind of come up with like a Force ghosting for dummies in a way. Like, okay, we were struggling with it, and now we're finding how to,
No,
here's the
this is
easy
not,
path
This is
to
not
get
a
there.
trick. No, there's no easy path with Jedi. Come on. No way. They don't Walmart this. They don't commoditize Force ghosting.
Well, all I'm telling you is that at the end of this trilogy, I would really like to see a Force ghost Leia, and if they don't, it's fine, whatever. But I think that would be a missed opportunity for a really nice moment.
All right, I tell you
It's
what,
gonna
then,
make
Corey.
sense.
I hope we see it together, because I promise here on the show I will stand up and boo if they do that.
All right, Mr. Technical. I don't know.
It's got to make sense. It can't just be done for the sake of feel goods.
But either way, like, it wouldn't bother me all that much at all. That's for sure.
Hey, fair enough.
I don't know. How do you feel about the idea that Anakin shepherds her over, and then they get to heal that rift between father and daughter? Because Luke forgave Vader, Anakin, but Leia seemingly never did. She viewed him as a monster, for her entire life. Maybe this is a way to like smooth that relationship over as well. At the end of 9, you see the Force Ghost Skywalker family, and there's Rey looking a triumphant Rey staring at Luke, Leia, and Anakin
And Han.
as Force Ghosts. Don't.
What? No, it makes perfect sense. That's what I was saying. Like, getting like outside help from that, it would make most sense for Anakin to be that person to. And you said it has that emotional resonance as well.
That'd be nice. Then they could show Han and if Chewie, any of the good guys could just glow blue at the end. That'd be sweet.
Like I said, if at some point they're going to shoehorn a novel in and say, well, here's a window of time where Leia did practice Force ghosting. Okay, there was the time there. You had that 30-year gap, and you did make it work. And I get again that you were in a tough spot and needed to do something fitting with the character. I mean, this is kind of the highest honor, quote unquote, for Star Wars Force sensitives to be able to pull that. So
it'd be interesting. Maybe like you can pull it sometime after Jedi, like where she kind of, like Luke says, hey, like you need a little bit of training, like, it would help you in a lot of aspects of your life. And she gets into it and kind of discovers something, and it kind of scares her away from it and says, like, I'm just going to put this, I'm good where I am right now. And that's that. Maybe she has already communed and we just don't know.
Well, you feel, of course, this, it wouldn't work, but you would think that along her own timeline, that would have happened in Bloodline. They would have touched on it then. Obviously, I get why they don't touch on any of that in Bloodline. But man, oh man, it's a tricky one. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but it better not feel just like, well, this is the best we could do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I hope like that blog post you wrote, I hope they don't alter what they had planned.
James, it's over. They've altered it. It's completely hijacked.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I'm glad somebody agrees with me.
It reminds me. It bothers me in the same way. Like the valedictorian of my high school was killed really tragically in a drunk driving accident, and he was a really, really, really smart, nice kid with like church-going parents, but he was really not popular in school. In fact, like he was picked on, and like I was friendly with him. In fact, I would say I was friends with him. We used to hang out outside of school and stuff. And I remember going to his funeral and thinking, like, what a bunch of hypocrites. Like the whole high school had turned out and like we're sobbing. And like in hindsight as an adult, I can like recognize that like their feelings of loss were, legitimate anyways. But at the time I remember thinking like, you're just a bunch of hypocrites. You were so mean to this kid. And now here you are like making it about you, and
guilt.
Yeah. Guilt. And in the same way, I feel like, I don't know, the motivation isn't the right reasons to change her storyline.
Fear. To me, it's fear.
Yeah, well, look at it. Dave Donovan said it well in the sense that no matter which scenario you really put it in, it's a lose-lose-lose for them. They're just trying to make the best of a bad situation, and this is the route it seems that they're going. I don't necessarily want to say it's the easy route, but I don't want to sound like a total cynic, but it sets a really bad precedent too. What happens if like you have a tragic accident now, or like what like?
Well, I think now here's a question I've asked, and not one person has given me a straight answer. They've answered a question with a question. What happens if something happens to Mark Hamill tomorrow? That's what I'm saying. Like, well, this is the thing. Are you gonna write out Luke for Episode 9? No, I guarantee not one person is gonna say, yeah, kill him in the opening crawl. I don't want to see Luke. Nobody's going to do that. I think at this point, maybe it's gotten a little more technical in that regard on Disney's points. Maybe they've re-signed contracts with new clauses in regards to this, in case of a tragedy, like as a failsafe. Although I think that's already worked in. That's Lucasfilm or Disney or somehow got $50 million, I think, as a payout. Because those insurance clauses are built in that if something happens to these characters, they do get compensated. So Disney and or Lucasfilm did get a massive payout once Carrie Fisher passed away.
I will tell you this though, if it's an off-screen death, like a lot of people are speculating, or if it's not taken care of properly and it's just like you said in the crawl or something, then I'll be up in arms as well. But until it comes out, I'm not. What I'm still really confused about is the fact that they're saying 8's not changed, but 9's changed. So that's really odd to me.
It's super odd.
Well,
you know, it's odd, but it's also simple math. 8's not changed, but 9 has to be rewritten, and Leia won't be in it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, but again, we don't know. That could be playing with words again. I've said it before. You know, you have all this footage with Episode 8 that they could rework, kind of.
Yeah, you can tint it blue and drop the opacity on it. There you go.
I said it a couple of weeks ago, that whole scene where I think Leia was supposed to be in the back burner for the better part of this movie, in the sense that she was in some kind of accident. That's what rumors have. And she uses the Force to save herself, so maybe...
I wonder if that's true anymore.
Well, who knows? Who knows? But if it is, I would see that scene possibly being their opportunity to sadly write the character out. If you could just rework that footage in a way.
Except 8's unchanged. Anyway,
yeah.
we're not going to go back over this entire conversation.
Something doesn't make sense. I think we could both agree upon that. So.
Oh, something doesn't make sense. All right. But I don't know if we agree on what it is that doesn't make sense. Anyway, moving ahead. Leaked Han Solo set pic from Fuerteventura. So you guys saw this picture. It looks like a compound of some kind on a desert hillside. So my question to you guys, is this Tatooine? Question 1. And question 2, should Tatooine be a part of this Han Solo movie? I'll throw it over to you, James.
Should it be? I don't like the word should, but could it be? For sure. I don't think it would be fan service to include that planet. Tatooine seems to be a pretty important one, and to include some previous footage from there. Han Solo certainly seemed really comfortable in that cantina. So, if he spent time on that planet before, makes sense to me.
Corey?
Well, yeah, James kind of got me thinking there now about the cantina, in the sense that he is quite comfortable in Mos Eisley. But that could be for a later Han. To be honest, it didn't really feel like Tatooine to me. And in my heart of hearts, I think I feel that Tatooine should be like saga sacred, in a sense. Like, there's no need to kind of rope that into this movie, especially when we know during this time period
Tatooine was in Rebels.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of made sense to the story, right? Like, the whole season was almost based on that arc.
So saga sacred, unless you like the exception.
Well, think about it. At the time, like, that in Rebels, it pertained to Obi-Wan, right? Like, Obi-Wan and Luke will be on that planet at this time, so I don't think that they should really be messing with that. And again, to me, just looking at it, the landscape, it has a desert-ish feel, but it doesn't it's maybe a little too rocky to feel like Tatooine for me. And desert seems to be a common thing in the Star Wars galaxy. I am hoping that this is not Corellia, because Corellia, I've really always had I don't know, it's always kind of called to me, like, I always thought it was so cool. And I'm hoping it's not a desert planet, Corellia, but either way, it lends itself to the whole Western vibe.
Absolutely it does. But yeah, if it's not Tatooine, if it is Tatooine, I'll be like, whatever. But if it's not Tatooine, I'll be like, another desert planet? Do we have to have desert planets all the time?
Well, that's the thing. Maybe it's not a desert planet. Like, think of planet Earth, right? I've always imagined in my head canon, that Corellia was very similar to Earth. Earth has deserts, kind of just depends
Well, I
Where
think planets in Star Wars always seem to encompass one environment. Tatooine is one big desert, and Endor is a big forest. Coruscant is a big city, and
Hoth is a big,
yeah,
big
it's a big
winter.
snowball.
No, I
It doesn't
gotcha.
seem like there's a lot of planets that have different zones for whatever reason. Simplicity's sake, I suppose, is the answer. But
Yeah, thematics as well.
yeah, that too, of course. Even Naboo, every square inch of that planet seems to be just a gorgeous, beautiful, paradise of these great pastures and waterfalls.
Lethal too. It's very like prairie and mountainous at the same time.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess they may as well make it Tatooine. I don't know. What the hell? If you're gonna put in, I don't want to see another desert planet in there. So fine, make it Tatooine. Give it some kind of Jabba the Hutt twist. Maybe it's an outpost of his.
Well, I think you're neglecting how big the galaxy is, man. And desert planets kind of look like especially here, it kind of almost looks like a bit of a junk yard or salvage operation. It looks like I don't know, like a junk planet, I guess. Like I really don't see this as being Tatooine. And again, like with Luke and Obi-Wan being on Tatooine at this time, I don't think that they're gonna play with this movie. I think they're gonna veer away from that right now.
No, I agree. I mean, my official answer is I don't think it's Tatooine, but it'll seem a bit tried and played out to me.
Yeah, to
if
me
they're
it
gonna
would
go
seem
to
like fan
another
service.
desert planet.
Yeah.
No, I mean if it's not Tatooine, it's gonna feel like to me. What's with this? Do we have to have a desert planet in all avenues of Star Wars? Like Jakku being a desert. Everybody thought that was Tatooine at first. Then Lucasfilm eventually, or quickly actually, told us that no, it's a planet called Jakku and it's totally new. Oh, okay, that's weird. And now another desert planet potentially. I don't know. It feels. I don't want to say lazy, but
It works
that's all
with
that
the
comes to
theme.
mind.
When I think Outer Rim, that's kind of what I think,
Fair enough, I guess. Okay, next up. So some leaked Lego pics from... Oh, and so, sorry, hat tip to Making Star Wars for the leaked Han Solo pic. Thanks, guys. And now over to Star Wars Newsnet, where they posted some leaked photos, some leaked Lego pictures from The Last Jedi. And just a couple of things there. So when we discussed the Vanity Fair pictures, we looked at the Laura Dern character of Vice Admiral Holdo, and she was decked out in that purple gown, and said, well, that's a strange way for an admiral to dress up. I wonder if she has just a regular military uniform. And apparently she does. In one of the pictures, it's clearly her with the purple hair, and you see her in her little admiral suit. So, with that squared away, I wonder if the Vanity Fair picture is her maybe in a bit of an undercover costume, and she's part of the mission to Canto Bight, and she's trying to blend in. I can picture one of these Ocean's 11 type scenes, or something out of True Lies, where kind of sneaking around a ballroom, and you're talking to somebody through an earpiece who's sneaking around some other building looking for something. I can totally see that happening in this movie.
Yeah, that's the way I judge her character. When we saw the Vanity Fair cover as well, we were kind of saying like, it seems a bit odd for her to be dressing like that, although we have no clue who she is still. Maybe she was royalty or something as well. But yeah, it makes perfect sense to be hobnobbing with these aristocrats, like they all seem to be pretty into fashion, and she looks quite like a fashionista there. So yeah, to infiltrate something, or maybe I can't remember where I saw it now. I think it was a week ago, or right when the Vanity Fair stuff was coming out. I might have even been a quote from her directly, Laura Dern, but somebody saying kind of something along the lines of like, watch out for this character. She's not everything she seems to be, in a way. Like, so I almost got the impression that she was gonna be like a double agent for the First Order almost.
I know what you mean. And one of the early reports that I'd heard about the character is that I don't remember if it was her and Leia or if it was her and Poe. Oh yeah, right. It was during that time when Leia was believed to be injured and out of it, and Poe assumes command. But the Laura Dern character was sort of up in his face about it. Like she was a high-ranking official, and she was trying to seize control of what was going on with the Resistance. So there's definitely, it seems like there's going to be some friction. They see things very differently, so it appears. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of potential there for her to be a very interesting character.
No, but I definitely got the impression. The only other thing I can think with that get up was maybe we've talked about this. We don't even know if it's going to happen in this film, but the morning of the Hosnian Prime system or Han, something like that. But no, I see it more of making a dramatic change in espionage or something like that.
Yeah, I would think that's closer to the mark. And then there's another picture where we see Corey. You weren't very fond of this. It was the Snoke Lego figure. You're not happy with this little thing.
I've seen this going around a lot on Twitter as well. The whole gold member analogy. Gold.
I feel like I said that at the time.
Yeah.
I feel like
it comes to mind right away. But I'm no Lego aficionado. Like recently, I've gotten quite a few of them for my son, and it's actually quite fun because I was never really so much into Lego that much as a kid. But yeah, I'm having fun doing them with him recently. But was it Shaky Robert Phillips? I think he'd posted it on the TSW VIP, and I was asking him a few questions about it because, you know, I know they're all kind of the same size, but sometimes they'll make an exception if a character is quite large. So he said it's kind of like a gray area.
Boo.
But yeah. Anyway, he said it can go. He said it can go either way. Really, it's like certain characters yes, certain no. It's a gray area. I was assuming that they would have done something with this character. He does look really. Granted, he is a humanoid, whatever, but he looks very.
It's a very plain looking figure.
Yeah,
it's very, very plain looking figure. There's no question about that. I mean, and the analogy of making him look like Goldmember, that's right on the mark. There's nothing spectacular about this figure whatsoever. But that could just be, like an early production photo. Maybe they're trying to keep things close to the vest. I would say that's unlikely, but yeah, I think as far as a Lego figure goes, I think for the most part this is a standard size for Lego figures, and this is what you get. And we're not going to be blown away by this Snoke figure.
I didn't even see a hood or anything. It's very, very plain. Very.
Yeah, it almost makes me think that the Snoke character is going to be less important than I thought originally. Maybe I'm putting too much weight into it, but that's what I sort of thought. I'm like, wow, he seems less special than maybe he should have been.
Well, Rian Johnson did say that he's not going to get too deeply into Snoke in The Last Jedi, so why have a big special figure for him too?
Which is kind of odd. He's like, I'm going to leave that for Trevorrow.
Well, I mean, he's not the main. Well, he seems like he's the head honcho. But the head honcho is never, the Palpatine was never as compelling as Vader. And we're far more interested in Kylo Ren as a villain than we are with Snoke. We want answers around Snoke.
Yeah, exactly.
But we want to see what happens with Kylo Ren as far as story goes.
I've been hearing some really interesting stuff recently. Like I have them all, but I haven't read Life Debt and all that yet. But just what Snoke, I think what he was supposedly trying to do, you would probably know more than me, Kyle, but wasn't he like building some kind of like radio, or he was looking into like the depths of space for another galaxy or something? No, like he was looking into the galaxy or past our galaxy into like for the source of the darkness or something, Well,
yeah, he was sort of scouting the unknown regions,
Which is really interesting. Imagine if he's not even the real puppet master, like someone, maybe he made contact with someone.
Well,
or
isn't
something.
it convenient? Isn't it convenient that we as fans are debating what's Lucasfilm going to do next? Are they going to close up Episode 9 and that's the end of the saga? Or is it going to be left open for future sagas? Well, now you have the unknown regions. Who knows what's in there? Who knows how big it is? Maybe whatever's in there is fuel for another saga. And for me, it's becoming clearer and clearer that this is where Snoke comes from, and that's where the First Order definitely was originated. So, yeah, man, who knows what's out there?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Did you guys notice the little black BB-8 unit?
Yeah, that was really cool.
I think people want it to be called BB-Hate.
Yeah, H8.
So Snoke in the Lego photo is talking to a hologram. Let's put some money on the line here. Fake money. Who's he talking to, Corey?
Ooh, you know what? I'm gonna throw the wild card out there right away. I'm not gonna go with the obvious ones there. I'll go with DJ. Ooh.
Wow, he's talking to DJ. I'm sure you get pretty good odds on that one. That could be a good value bet. James, who you got?
I guess Kylo Ren is the low hanging fruit, so I'll just say the names so it's out there. But what if he's talking to Luke?
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
I'm gonna put James down for Luke. I mean, other options are Hux. That seems boring.
That's it. I have Kylo and Hux on my list here too, but as James mentioned, it's like a given.
The other interesting one is Leia.
Yeah, that
true.
I almost said that just because Corey said that we were going to see more of Leia and maybe as a Force ghost, so I almost said her too, but I don't think so.
A little bit of smack talk between the two. I mean, the figure does look like it's a bulkier thing. There could be a cape there. I don't know. I would say the safe bet is Kylo, but the adventurous answer, that'd be pretty wild if it was Luke
or Rey.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can rule out Rey based on this picture. And there's a picture to the left. There's that main picture in the middle at the middle top, and that's sort of the best look at least the body of the character. But on the left side, there's another smaller picture that looks like Kylo Ren's helmet.
I hope he has a helmet in this movie.
It's true though, but he doesn't need it anymore, though, right?
No,
it served no purpose in the first place. It was just
but now he has a scar that he's got to hide up, because if he doesn't hide that scar, it may slide further across his face.
What? Just may slide down like onto his back.
Yeah,
you never know.
God, bet you Finn's scar stayed in the same spot.
Guys, Pablo Hidalgo says Snoke is not. Repeat, not human. So does that change anything for you guys about the character? Does it rule anything out? Corey, what do you think?
Not really. I've kind of always thought that this guy was a newish character. I've always kind of thought he was an alien as well. We've always heard he was like 7 foot tall, and it's kind of been out there floating around for a long time that he was an alien. Pablo having confirmed it makes sense, although he is humanoid, granted. We still don't know a lot of him. What does it rule out? I've heard some really out there theories, but the short one is that he's not human. So there's all those characters you could just erase right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's right there in the novelization, which I like it when Pablo gets snarky. And I guess I also empathize with him a little bit, because he must get asked, almost like a bus driver who gets asked probably 20 times a day by people, does this bus stop there? He must get asked the same questions over and over and over. And it's written in the book. Tall and gaunt, he was humanoid, but not human. Done! It's over. He's not human. And he even though he looks quite human, there was something off about the guy, and I know he suffered a lot of damage, but there was something that kind of gave it away that he wasn't quite human. Anyway, James, does it change anything for you?
No, we were going under the assumption he wasn't human for a while now. So it just sort of confirms that.
I don't know. Kyle was on the Gallius Rax train for a while.
Yeah, I was. I wasn't. Well, geez, I wasn't alone. I think that was almost like an intentional mislead. Because they never really confirmed, at least in Life Debt, did they even say that Gallius Rax was human? Because he got the same description as Snoke in a lot of ways. He was tall and he was pale. And he was like, they made it they lined him and Snoke up very closely.
Yeah, Wikipedia is saying, formerly known as Galli, was a human male officer.
Yeah, but I don't know if they ever referred to him in Life Debt as human. I think that eventually came out, probably in Empire's End. But at first, I was like, geez, they're really leading you by the nose to think that Gallius Rax could be Snoke. So could it, a lot of people still thinking that Plagueis is Snoke is Plagueis, and that Plagueis is just simply body hopping into one body to another. And so, yeah, Pablo is telling the truth. It's not, Snoke is not Plagueis, but because that's not Plagueis' body. So, from a certain point of view, I'm right. Do you think he's being very coy, or are we finally getting cozy with the idea that Snoke is definitely something else?
No, I'm in line with Snoke as something else now, especially, again, I haven't read Aftermath and Life Debt and all that, but knowing what he was kind of trying to attempt to do on Jakku really, I don't know, that it sets it up for me,
Well, this definitely puts to bed that Windu or Palpatine neither of those guys survived to become Snoke. So we can put that to bed. There's two theories that are just blown up.
Kanan, Ezra, gone. Leia, gone.
Yeah, yeah, those are all dead theories now. Cool. Moving on. We are now going to talk about our boy Finn, somebody we don't give enough love to. We talk about Rey all the time, and Luke and Kylo, but we don't talk a whole lot about Finn. I feel like he's been ignored here. But he's apparently, EW had a story this week where he was saying that Finn, in his comatose state, has gained notoriety in the ranks of the Resistance for being the guy who took on Kylo Ren, which is kind of cool. And it's also interesting because Finn liked to pretend that he was a big deal. That's he told Han in The Force Awakens, "I'm a big deal in the Resistance." And apparently, he wanted to present this image of himself, but apparently now he's going to wake up, and he's going to have that fame he was always kind of looking for. So I don't know where really to go with Finn, but I feel like we should give him a little bit of love here, Corey. So I'll let you ramble on here for a minute about Mr. Finn.
All right, well, think about it, man. It's a good. Having looked at the show notes and thinking about it, like, I'm kind of looking at Finn in a whole new way now. Think about it. He's at the center. He's at the crux of this film. He keeps the movie. He keeps the pace of the film going. Like, think about it. First of all, he witnesses the massacre on Jakku. He wants to escape. He busts out with Poe. So if Poe doesn't escape, like nothing's happening, Then he finds Rey. Then he meets Han Solo. He goes head to head with Kylo Ren. Gets all messed up. So once people get word of this, like, oh, what? He was friends with Han Solo? Oh, what? He brought back the Jedi? Oh, what? He busted out Poe from an Imperial Star Destroyer? Like, that's insane. Like, this guy's the man, Like, he basically became a legend in a day. You know what I mean?
Well, that's going to give them an angle to do too, right? That's going to give them an angle to make someone jealous and hate him and suspect his motives.
Yeah, true. Of course, we can't trust him. He's still First Order. Blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
I think he definitely he's gonna be waking up. Like obviously he's gonna have questions, and I think they refer to it walking wounded. He's still not gonna be like at all 100% at the beginning of this film. Anyhow, I think that injury that he's got that he sustained from Kylo was probably a lot worse than we're thinking almost. Like I'm almost convinced it had something to do with like spinal cord being severed in a way, you know?
You know, from the beginning, when we started thinking about Finn in the aftermath, I always pictured him. I picture we would see him sort of shirtless at some point in The Last Jedi, and you would see him from the back, and he would have almost like a cybernetic spine.
Yeah,
or some
100%.
type of attachment to his back that kind of keeps him going.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't really... It's always in the recesses of your mind as if you've already made it canon in a way, so it's almost not even worth talking about. Once you start discussing it, so true. Like, also his shoulder also took a pretty bad beating. Like, I'm sure at one point we're going to see him, again, like you said, shirtless, and we're going to see the extent of his injuries. And again, I think they're probably going to be in the correct spot where we last saw them.
This is a really big deal for you, huh?
Whatever.
So if he has like a horizontal slash across his back, will you be bothered?
No, you know what? That scar's okay too. Like, but when you get a facial scar, come on.
Every time you see Kylo, you're gonna be frustrated.
Yeah,
that's not what happened, Ryan. I'm not stupid.
That's it. He's like, Ryan's like, but Corey, it's not pretty. That's kind of that's the impression I got. Yeah, it wasn't aesthetically pleasing. No, I get that, but he's a monster and he deserved it and he got it.
And also, like what? So every director who comes along is going to look at the movie and go, you know what? I like it better over here. Nah, I'm going to move.
Yeah,
it over
exactly. Here. Yeah, like, well, a couple more inches to the, you got Botox or something.
Thematically, I wonder if something that's going on in the movie is empowering some of these characters and seeing how they deal with it. It seems like Poe is going to inherit power from Leia. Rey is going to learn from Luke. Finn seems like he's going to wake up with this newfound fame. And Kylo is also going to obviously be a powered up figure. So I think there's sort of a train of thought here going that you give these characters more power, more fame, more notoriety, and you see how these very, very different people deal with that. And you could probably trace that back. You know, I think back to when J.J. Abrams was first considering taking on the project, and he was given the question of who is Luke Skywalker. And I saw a brilliant blog post once that said the character of Luke Skywalker is examined through those 4 characters in the movie. It was 4 slices of Luke's personality fleshed out through Poe, Rey, Finn, and Kylo. I've got to look up the piece again because it was really, really smartly written. But I wonder if this is, you take these 4 characters again and you give them new skills, new responsibilities, and seeing what exactly do these people do with them. Will they use them for noble ends? Will they turn to evil with them? Will they be power hungry? I don't know. Am I off base here?
No,
I don't think so.
No, definitely. I think you said it well. In other words, each character is kind of leveled up for this film. And like just again touching back on Finn, Finn getting in this interview that was done where he's saying that he's kind of a big deal. I'm almost getting the impression that this is what drove me the cybernetic route in a way, because he says like once he kind of gets back to himself, does he ever get back to himself? So it's almost as if, okay, he gets up, he's not 100% healed yet, firstly, and then secondly, he's still trying to deal or learn how to use his new body, if you will. But once he does effectively learn how to use his new body, like he's gonna be like Finn 2.0 in a way. Like he can have an edge over his opponents now. And
Hopefully.
yeah,
He's gonna need it because he for all his stormtroopering skills, he ended up on the wrong side of more than one fight.
but I definitely got that impression in the sense where, you know, he's kind of saying once I get adapted to my new body in a way, I'm gonna be better than ever.
Well, and yeah, maybe again, that's even more in line with what I'm thematically saying, is that maybe he realizes, I've got this like super spine. Maybe it gives me, I don't know. I don't want to say super strength. I'm not going to go pretend he's going to be a superhero. But maybe he does make him sort of enhanced in some way. And what does he do with that?
I think he
Level
steps
of
up to the
ability.
plate. I think he steps up to the plate. He's going to be a big part of the resistance in this movie. Like, again, having faced Kylo, faced your worst fear in a way, like going up and standing your ground, like at the end of that film, like he did. I don't think there's going to be too much that he doesn't think that he can accomplish if, you know, he has the people around him that he can trust and stuff. Like, he's going to be a leader now. Like, he has that confidence. He doesn't want to run away anymore. Like, he wants to run toward the battle, if you will.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I think Finn is sort of a character flying under the radar a bit here. We're so super focused on Luke and Rey that we forget that there's this really, and you know, Poe for that matter as well. But Finn is we can't forget Finn.
Oh, like think about it. When you think The Force Awakens, it really is. He's like the Samwise Gamgee of The Force Awakens. Like, he's at every point of the film, from Poe to Finn, or from Poe to Rey, to Han Solo's story. You know, like,
Well, he's the everyman, right? He's somebody that we can all relate to. There's nothing super special about him except maybe how noble he is. But otherwise, he's just a regular Joe Blow. He's doesn't come from a place of authority or power,
and he's
not
super
enhanced
scared
in
too.
any way.
Like, he's super scared.
He's got all
he wants
kinds of
to run.
yeah. Yep, and he has no identity. He doesn't really know who he is. Anyway, power to Finn, man. I hope he's got just as compelling an arc as everybody else, but we also can't forget that he's the comic relief, right? So that maybe that's a tricky thing too, where this guy still has to be funny. This movie's still going to have jokes, and it's probably going to come from Finn.
Well, I found Poe a little more funny.
Really? Come on.
Yeah, well, the humor was just a little more serious, you know, where he's talking to Kylo and you first, me first, or I can't hear you with all that, you know.
Apparatus.
No, his was more like, you know, that establishing his swag, like using humor in the face of adversity or whatever. But like,
I like
that. I liked it too, but I think certainly Finn was more comic relief.
No, in this one, yeah, you could definitely. I know what you mean. He was more to be that character in the sense him and Rey's relationship. You know, you kind of see him like where he's always trying to grab her hand and stuff, and she's like, "What are you doing? Like, don't touch me!" And he's like, you know, like just their banter was
the rewritten banter.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's move on to our last little bit here. The importance of Canto Bight. So we saw glimpses of this. We got our best glimpse of this planet in the Vanity Fair photo shoot, and it's being presented as a neutral planet in this conflict. But I'm wondering, guys, is this planet neutral because they're just simply apolitical, or are they just too self-absorbed to care? I mean, they certainly look self-absorbed with all that swanky rich stuff going on. But is this another angle of exploring middle ground? We've talked a lot about the middle in Star Wars, especially when it comes to the Force. But is this a way? Is this another facet of that exploration where we'll explore the political middle?
Yeah, I think it's more along the lines of self-absorbed. I don't think they're apolitical. I think it's going to be at a time where like people don't realize just how big the problem is in the galaxy, and they think like, you know, it's not. Yeah, that's going on elsewhere, but it's not going on here. It's not going to affect me at home. I think it's going to sort of be more that angle.
I tend to agree. I mean, yeah, it could be a bit of a stretch to say, maybe this is, the political middle where this is the Switzerland of Star Wars. And maybe it is. I mean, Switzerland is a pretty swanky place when it wants to be, right?
True.
Do you think maybe that it's Rian Johnson doing maybe a commentary on the 1%, where these people just often have their heads in the sand and don't care what happens to the rest of society?
That's exactly the way I see it. I think these people are just like, welcome to the fabulous Canto Bight. Like they're like, oh no, we're the 1%. Like we're totally safe here. Like we don't even want to be involved with your stuff. We're above all that. I see this crowd as being uber ignorant. Like just like you said, burying their heads in the sand and just thinking that they're untouchable, which I hope is proven not to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, there's more than one way to skin that cat, right? They could be happily ensconced in their planet, far away from the conflict, where they don't know, they don't care. They've set up a system where they're self-reliant and don't need the Resistance, the Republic, or the First Order. Or they could be a group that know what's going on and just don't care. And I think that
I almost see Canto Bight as playing that card, like being that neutral ground in the sense that, hey, like, come to Canto Bight, take a load off your mind. Don't worry about this or that or the other. Like, we're neutral. Like, and who knows who they're paying off or whatever. Like but it seems like the Las Vegas of the GFFA. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of seem to be operating autonomously, but at the same time, like, they feel untouchable and ignorant, whatever. But again, it's like a place here. Come, we're take a load off. You don't need to think about these things here. You just come and have fun at Canto Bight.
Which makes the reason for being there very difficult to pinpoint. Like, if these people are completely out of the picture and don't care at all, what could be so important on this planet?
Yeah, maybe they're smuggling something, or maybe something's locked up. That's true. Like, I'm starting to think to Ocean's 11 here. But they definitely need some kind of information from this planet if there's some kind of bit of espionage going on. Let it be like a data chip or a piece of something that they need to get, or even maybe someone that they need to pick up.
Well, that's where DJ comes in, right?
Possibly. I see DJ as working for the First Order at first, and then again, like, being the Lando character. Like, once he kind of screws them all over in a sense and realizes what's going on, and then kind of the last second kind of says, I got to do what's right here, and kind of flips sides.
All right, that's it for the quote unquote news this week. How you guys feel about some ads edition now?
Let's do it.
Always ready for ads edition.
Hello chaps, I hope everyone's had a good week. I should start by just saying I was really sorry to hear that Carlos didn't manage to get all the backers he needed for that album. I really hope you have another go, mate, as I'm sure we'll get there. So fingers crossed for the future. My question this week is, if you could freeze frame any shot from any of the Star Wars films, or indeed Rebels or Clone Wars, which would be your favourite shot to freeze frame? And maybe let's change the word favourite as well to what you think the most iconic Star Wars shot, using the pause button on a remote, from any of the films. Have a kick around with that. I look forward to listening. Take care. Bye.
There goes ads. Thank you, sir. And I fully agree with you. No question that Carlos will get there sooner than later. And you know what? I think the Commonwealth did a really fine job of helping Carlos along. Of course, there's always more you can do, but I think by and large, a lot of us stepped up to the plate, put some skin in the game, and hopefully we did Carlos proud. And it's really tough to put yourself out there in a project like that, and if it doesn't go through, I know if it was me, I would feel really crappy about myself. But Carlos came right out afterward and said, "We're going to do this again." And he's got a kind of unbreakable spirit. So good on you, Carlos. And once you fire up another Kickstarter, we'll be there, man. The Commonwealth will be there.
Yeah, we shall double our efforts. Yeah, but not only that, like, dude, he's holding his head high, and he's gonna kind of re-look at the plan, reorganize, and I think next time we're gonna get there, and it's gonna happen, and then he's gonna make a song about the tumbling saber.
Oh man, well, hats off to you, Carlos. We know you're gonna get there.
Yeah, you will, Carlos. I can't wait to hear it too.
And ads, sir, you have outdone yourself with this question. This was amazing. I spent my Sunday working on the pool, setting up our garden in the backyard, and this was in the backdrop of my mind almost all day long. But James, if you could freeze frame one shot from all the Star Wars films, what would it be?
Yeah, man, one shot?
This is tough. I mean, Ad asked us a question a few weeks ago that was really tough. I think it was making your own hockey team.
Yeah.
But this is tough.
But
Corey, you're not going to loophole this, are you?
Well, no, he's broken it down into two kind of sections, right? Favorite and most iconic. But he's also giving you the option of taking anything from Star Wars, not necessarily the films.
Okay, fine. Okay, sure. Anywhere from Star Wars. We'll get to you, Corey. We'll see what kind of loophole you've cooked up this week. But James, your favorite shot in anything Star Wars.
All right. First, I'll say I'll be shocked if Corey chooses anything other than like OT for his most iconic or favorite. But and I won't either, and I don't think you will either. I think all three of us are going to go OT for this stuff. Favorite shot and most iconic. I mean, geez. I'll tell you, like, if you ask me the same question in 10 minutes, my answer will be different. But right now I've settled on that Twin Suns shot where you've got like the igloo / dome house in the foreground, and one of the suns is almost on the horizon.
It's the binary sunset.
Yeah, like that particular freeze frame, I think, doesn't get more.
That encapsulates a whole lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't get more Star Wars iconic than that.
Like even as a child, when you see that that moment, you know that Luke's moving on.
It's good. It's yeah.
And that one doubles as probably a fan favorite, and also that's a short list for the most iconic.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's on my list for most iconic, possibly even number one.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get to a consensus here, but we'll try. So, Corey, what's your favorite shot?
So hard to describe a real favorite shot, but I think James prepared to be blown away. Favorite and iconic, I've been very adamant on that. They're very two different things on this show.
Of course they are.
My favorite, I think I'm veering more toward animation because it's a medium that's a little more versatile, and you can give the creators a little more room to work with. Give you that real eye candy that you want. So I'm going to give the Rebels some love here. Just a few quick shout outs. Again, I don't know if I could choose one in particular, but
you have to.
Legends of let me just shoot a couple off. Legends of the Lasat, when they into the Star Cluster, amazing, but that's more taken as a whole. Vader TIE fighter surfing in the temple at Malachor.
That is a good shot.
I love that because it almost looks like they're in space just because of all the little holes in the ground and stuff. Yeah. So cool. Again, Vader, Siege of Lothal. James, I know you love this one when Kanan and Ezra actually pull a really sweet move on Vader where they work together as master and apprentice, and they totally get Vader, man. Like they're like Vader got. They force push him, they do the whole thing, and then they topple a walker on top of him, and then Vader just stands there amidst the rubble and the fire, and he's just like lifting this thing off himself. but I think one that really touches me, like it's so beautifully done, is in the episode Path of the Jedi, where they enter the temple and Kanan's left behind. Really cool, like a nightmarish episode. Anyway, Ezra ends up getting a kyber crystal. He's there and he's talking to Yoda, and it's almost as if he's just there in some astral plane in the middle of space, and this kyber crystal slowly comes floating down to him, and it's just sheer eye candy. It's gorgeous shot.
Well, Corey, I'll say you surprised me for sure by going off book. And I think you did the listeners a favor by putting those beautiful images in their heads. So,
Yep.
In that sense, good job. But BS, I'm calling BS. So you're telling me you can have one Star Wars poster in your house, and it's one of those things you said?
Well, if I get a poster,
that's what we're talking about, dude. You get one. What's the image? What's the one? What's your favorite Star Wars image? You only get one in your whole home. You're picking something from Rebels.
I think so, man. Like, and if it's not a poster, like one of the movie theatrical release posters, like I guess those can be considered iconic images as well. And that would change the game for me, and I'd probably choose one of those. But just for sheer eye candy and like, because I'm trying to freeze frame shots of the film here and seeing how great that they would look. Granted, they look good, like I had a Carrie Fisher laminated like print poster at one point. It was awesome. But when I think iconic and my favorite ones, Binary Sunset's up there. Like you mentioned it, James. That's the one that almost captures that animation feel in a way where it's eye candy. Iconic again, the I am your father moment. Ads that kind of mentioned that. Vader's hands stretched out, reaching for him. And the end of A New Hope and the end of Return of the Jedi, well, even Empire as well, but more A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, I find, everybody's all smiles. And it's just one of those, you can freeze frame that, and it's just awesome. Especially when Yub Nub's playing.
I love you, I know. That's a great moment to freeze frame.
Yeah. The kiss, too.
Nah, who wants a kiss on their wall?
Corey.
Well, when it's Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford.
Really? You want to? I guess if you had a picture of you and your wife in a frame in your house on your wedding day, that's one thing. I don't know if I want pictures of somebody else kissing in my room on a poster on my wall.
Well, how's this? Well, this isn't necessarily kissing. That's what's so good about their relationship. Like, and I'm gonna kind of say it, I guess. Like, I hope they do kiss before this season ends in Rebels, but the forehead to forehead Kanan Hera, like that's a moment for them. And a couple times in the season, when he goes blind at one point, and she's touching his face, the horizon in the background.
You're not posterizing that.
Why not?
Oh, come on.
I know Ash at Skyhoppers would have my back. I thought it was beautiful. Anyway, I had that as my cover. My back cover splash, whatever, on Twitter for a while.
This is your wall, man. This is your one shot of Star Wars that you can put in your house.
Again, if it's not, it would probably be either the end of Return of the Jedi, Binary Sunset, or I just love Ezra getting his kyber crystal. Like, anyone who hasn't seen that yet, just Google that image. And man, is it so cool to me. Like, it's just eye candy. This is
it is saying something that Rebels jumps the queue and moves in front of all the movies, and including Clone Wars.
But I'm saying favorite as just like as an image itself, not necessarily what it represents. It's just the sheer beauty of that shot.
Fully aware.
It's just I find you have a lot more capability within animation, anyhow.
Well, isn't it weird that in an age that you can create any shot you want using digital, and that we can go back for the sake of this conversation back to the Phantom Menace. You can do whatever you want in a computer, but it's often the very simple shots from the original trilogy that dominate this conversation. And I bet for most people listening, that's exactly what dominated your mind when you think about your favorite shot from Star Wars. I would bet almost more than 90% of our listeners would come back with something from either A New Hope or Empire. That would be my guess.
That's the thing, though. Like, it kind of changes a bit of the scenario when you're really trying to think about one image to freeze frame, press pause, like Ad said. If you could take a scene and, choose one scene in Star Wars, that's, a whole different question. Where you do the trench run or whatever, but no, man. I mean, something that upholds that kind of like a beauty, like something you want to have on your wall, like of a significance. What's it gonna? I haven't really heard anything that much from you in that regard, Kyle. Like, what are you gonna have on your wall? If it's not, we're excluding movie posters at this point.
Yeah, of course. No, I wouldn't. That's cheating. That's like,
James
it's like what's your favorite album from your favorite band? Oh, the greatest hits. You can't do that.
James just threw one at us. Keegan actually drew this poster. The battle.
Don't steal my thunder. Don't steal my thunder.
Don't steal my thunder.
You cheating bastard! You asked me to talk, and then you start.
You almost cut his legs out.
James just sent me the photo online. I didn't know.
I don't know what's coming either, but great minds,
Yeah, that's a good one. And I would definitely put it on my wall if Kigo drew it for me. Hint, hint.
You're so liberal with other people's time.
Chopper first.
Jesus.
Anyway, so Kigo, I know he's backed up.
Well, I mean, it's anyway. It's
never
hard
asked
work.
Out of anyone, of course.
Then again, there is the possibility that in a little we're maybe showing our age a little bit, but I can't shake the feeling that the most iconic shots come from the OT, and I think it's probably demonstrably true. Not by me, but I bet you somebody with the chops in photography could demonstrate why these images from Star Wars are the best shots. And don't get me wrong, the prequels have a lot of eye candy to them, but nothing to me stands out. I couldn't think of anything from the prequels that, well, for definitely on the iconic part of this argument, I could think of almost nothing.
And you know what the worst part about that is? Because I thought the exact same thing, and I was like, am I going to get like dumped on here by Kyle in the sense that I'm saying only OT and like animation stuff? Then I'm like, okay, let me think what's like super iconic in the prequels. Now there's that one scene between Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting on Mustafar. That's pretty cool. It's almost...
Well, that's it, right? It's cool. There's tons of, well, that's a nice shot and it's cool. But I don't think... Maybe it's just because they're not old enough yet.
You just... To sum it up, like, prequel-wise, picture the end of The Phantom Menace, where they have that orb of joy, or whatever it is,
The orb of joy?
Whatever it is, like I can't remember, but it's just like they tried to make it iconic, you know what I mean? Where it's like the music.
Well, they mirrored the end of A New Hope.
Kind of, but it was a failed attempt.
Well, it was a parade procession with a gathering of heroes on a set of stairs.
No, I get it, but it just, again, it felt nowhere near as iconic.
Sure. I mean, I think that, I don't know, maybe that's a matter of opinion, or maybe that's just showing your age. I don't know. I feel like younger fans would have something to say. I mean, we're all coming from the same place, but I would be definitely interested in hearing Katie. What does Katie think of this? There's a younger fan who definitely might have a different opinion.
Yeah, Katie.
Ben and Ash at the Skyhoppers would maybe have a different opinion too.
Yeah, I want to hear their opinion. Phantom Menace ending versus A New Hope. Which one is not only more iconic, but which one just looks better on screen?
Well, that's going to be a matter of opinion, right?
Of course, yeah, and I'm curious.
Anyway, so mine, And actually, so before I give you mine, there's a book about this, right? It's called Star Wars Frames, and it's George Lucas handpicking his favorite shots from the movies. It's a pretty cool book. I don't own it, but it is out there, and I do want it. But for me, Leia feeding R2 at the beginning of A New Hope.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I think that's
very good one.
That's a great shot. Binary Sunset. That's a given. Vader and Luke. Even just Vader alone at the top of the stairs. When he starts taunting Luke.
Yeah, the slow ignition.
No, just you are not a Jedi yet. Just that. One of my favorite photos, and it's not from the movie. It's more of a publicity photo, but it's Leia in the Yavin War Room. They use it sort of in the 40th anniversary figure and in the vintage Leia figure. That I think I love. That's probably my favorite Star Wars photo, even though it's not from the actual film. Like that's the image that Carrie Fisher signed for Celebration 2 that I have autographed. I've always loved that shot. But a couple new entries. I loved the crashed Star Destroyer on Jakku. I could totally have that on my wall.
That's a good one.
Nice, actually. Yeah.
And actually, what's really nice is Rey versus Kylo in the forest. And we know the artist 800 Pound Productions, yep. Michael Pasquale.
Yeah.
His version of that is spectacular. It's been sold out forever, and I don't know if he's going to do another print run. But that is a great shot. Abrams did wonderful work there. And then again, as for the most iconic, it's got to be Binary Sunset. That's got to be number one.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. That between that and the "I Am Your Father" moment, those are the two most iconic, I would think. Followed by A New Hope and the Vader Luke duel off, and the end of Return of the Jedi.
So when I was thinking of doing most iconic, as soon as you get more than one person, it felt wrong. Like the more people you try, like if I tried to get everybody in the shot, suddenly like the shot lost its potency. The more you boiled it down and just got one shot of one person in a poignant moment, Binary Sunset, that worked. Leia for me with R2, that works. Other than that, everything else just becomes, I'm not going to say mediocre. That's totally the wrong word, but...
What about the ending of Jedi? Or they're all together?
Nice shot, not iconic.
I just sent you a 4-person shot of the inside of the Falcon that, for me, especially something about the lighting, really, really does it. It's Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO. Yeah,
that's a good one. Ads also had put one from A New Hope with swap out 3PO for Kenobi and Leia for Luke as they're approaching the Death Star.
Or there's even that.
That's a pretty good one.
There's also the one in the cockpit of you're seeing Han and Chewie's back, and Han's like pushing the throttle of the Falcon forward with his thumb almost into hyperdrive. You know that one?
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, or even just the what do they call it? The Star Sprawl? The Star, what's it called?
Okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, like when they're entering hyperspace?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Even when they're in the tunnel, too, that's awesome.
Yeah, those shots would be good.
I feel like the A New Hope, where we're the Tatooine at the bottom with the peak of the Star Destroyer coming in from the top. I feel like that could be a super cool poster too.
Luke standing there in the swamp with the X-Wing hovering.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking Dagobah, but yeah. Such a hard question. I don't think you got a definitive answer from any of us.
No, but we could keep going with our runners-ups. Probably all night long.
Probably, and we can't do that. But I don't even know how you could go about that. Like, how could you get a poster of your favorite shot? You can't do a screen grab of the movie. It would never. The resolution would be too crappy. There's got to be a way.
It's out there. It's Star Wars.
Well, ads. Again, as I said, you outdid yourself with this one. This was a good one. It kept my mind occupied all day long, and I'm sure now that the listeners are thinking about it, they are also going to think about it all day long. And share if you can find it on Twitter. If you can find it on the web, share it on Twitter. I'd love to see what you guys think of having on your wall, or what the most iconic would be. And from there, we'll move to Bradley, who steps up to the plate again this week with a question. And Bradley writes, "Hey guys, this week's question comes with my own theory. Do you think Snoke could have possibly been running the Jedi Academy with Luke? Here's my thinking. Snoke and Luke are running this Jedi Academy as co-teachers, a partnership if you will. As mentioned in Bloodlines, they are running around looking for Force-sensitive individuals. On one of these mercy missions, Luke and Ben cross paths with Rey, just like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon did with Anakin. Where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon were successful in freeing Anakin, this wasn't the case with Luke and Ben's attempt to free Rey. I feel like this contact with Rey may possibly have been the beginnings of Ben questioning Luke and his method because of their failed attempt to free her. I could see Ben then going to his other teacher, Snoke, and expressing his doubts and concerns about Luke. And then in parentheses, these events could have been over several years. For Snoke, the door is now open for him to start planting the seeds to convert Ben. At the right moment, Snoke reveals to Ben that his own family has kept the truth of Vader from him. Snoke reveals to Ben that Darth Vader is his grandfather. This sends Ben into a rage that causes him to turn away from Luke's teachings and embrace the dark side, the last straw, if you will. As far as Snoke's appearance, I believe he was the victim of the burning temple. You have to admit, he looks like someone who has been burned. That is true. Lastly, what if Luke knew that Snoke was in the temple as it was burning and thinks he perished in the fire? And what if Luke is saddened by this, because he still considers Snoke a friend, unaware that he was the one that turned Ben against him? Sorry I went on and on. I really tried to keep it short. I have a lot of threads off of this theory, so I just brought up the highlights. So tell me what you think, and I look forward to you destroying this theory to high holy Jakku. May the Force be with you guys only. Cheers, Bradley Hall." Thank you, Bradley. And just to ease your mind, you can make your theories as long as you need them to be.
Yeah,
so guys,
your Snoke theory actually doesn't suck that bad.
Well, it's one I hadn't considered at all.
Me either.
Like, it's pretty interesting.
It is.
It kind of opened up my mind to all kinds of stuff. Like, man, I have a hard time thinking that Luke could be fooled like that into letting somebody get so close to him who is so bad. But boy, it's a tantalizing possibility, isn't it?
And that's a trademark of the bad guys in this galaxy, anyways. Is that they hide in plain sight.
Yeah, that's a perfect Palpatine mirror, isn't it? Like, instead of fooling the galaxy, he fools Luke.
And Leia certainly suggested that she knew who he was.
That's just it. That's just it. Like, people know of Snoke. Like, Han mentions him. She mentions him. So he's
well, is
no
it a dirty family secret, or is it a widely known galactic secret?
That's pretty big question, but like, I never really thought about it in this regard. Like, either way, they either found out about him beforehand or after the events of Ben changing. But I'm starting to think that they know of him beforehand. Like, they seem to know of him, so maybe that is the case. I don't think he just showed up out of nowhere and said, "Hey, Kylo, truth bomb, come with me, quick." Like, it would make sense that he kind of somewhat has some reputation with the family in a way.
Well, I would agree with that. So, spoiler alert for Empire's End, if nobody has read that yet. Leia is obviously very pregnant with Ben. And I think it was in those moments where she did sort of try and meditate a little bit, as Luke had taught her. and she kept going to this place where she felt a threat to Ben. She felt like somebody was excuse me. She felt like somebody was watching him, and was a real threat to his safety. She couldn't place it, but it all sounds very much like Snoke was already watching this kid, and we know that to be true from either the screenplay or the novelization, where it's mentioned that Snoke had been watching Kylo for a long time and prized him for his light and dark side tendencies, like that perfect blend. So yeah, I mean, we know Snoke was looking at him, and I always felt like the way that Kylo turned was in Bloodline when Leia's family secret is exposed to the galaxy, and Leia has to own up to it, and she sends that message to Kylo. We don't know what Kylo's reaction to that message is, but in my mind, of course it just makes him a little bit crazy, and he was off with Luke at that point, so maybe there's a conflict right then and there. Maybe it comes to blows right then and there when Kylo finds out about Luke, or about who his grandfather is. Could totally see that. But as far as Snoke being pals with Luke, that is pretty cool.
And I have to agree with Bradley as well. Snoke kind of, if you're not gonna say he looks decaying, he definitely looks burnt. And maybe that's the thing too. Maybe Snoke is just a name. You know what I mean? Like, he becomes Snoke after the events of what Bradley had mentioned. Maybe prior to that, he's not necessarily known as Snoke, but that's where he kind of comes out and's like, hey, I'm Snoke now, like moving forward, before I could have been someone else.
Maybe Snoke was, like, what could Snoke have been prior? Like, if there's no Jedi kicking around, this guy just sort of pops up and, hey, Luke, nice to meet you. Good job with the Empire. Let me build this academy with you. Wah, wah. And then, like, worms his way through and starts planting seeds of evil in everybody's head.
Maybe he's just waiting for Luke to show up at one point. You know, Lord Santeca points him some kind of direction, and, hey, I found this super Force-sensitive guy along the way. He's going to help me.
Yeah, geez. I'm still trying to piece this all together. I would be curious about one thing in Bradley's theory, like where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were able to free Anakin, Luke and Snoke weren't able to free Rey.
Unless behind the scenes Snoke sabotaged it on purpose because he didn't want to free her and wanted to use that as the catalyst to, to put doubt. Oh, look what Luke wasn't able to do, even though he screwed it up.
Yeah. Yeah, so Bradley goes on to mention that Snoke reveals to Ben that his own family has kept the truth about Vader to him. That's maybe, in my mind, that's partially true. I again, like I just said, I feel like Ben gets Leia's message, and he starts questioning everything he's been taught, and he's pissed off at everybody in his family for not having told him. And then right in this moment of vulnerability, this is, for me, when Snoke enters the picture and says, yeah, your family legacy is not a good one, but here's a way you can honor your most powerful grandfather. Come with me. We'll take over the galaxy, and you'll complete his legacy, and you'll be just as powerful as him.
Well, that's the whole thing too, is that I don't necessarily know if he gets the whole message, in the sense that, because we know Leia's, she's not a big fan. It's her son. So maybe she doesn't get the whole message, in the sense that, he did come back to the light. He was a good man in the end. Like, he saw the error of his ways and he came back. Like, Kylo doesn't necessarily know that portion. He just knows Vader was my grandfather and Uncle Luke killed him. Like, he had a mission that I need to fulfill.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what makes Ben decide, you know what? this whole light side thing is really boring. I think my grandfather had it right the whole time. Let's get after this.
Well, it's definitely Snoke again that pushes him in that direction. That kind of he's manipulating the truth or something. I don't think Kylo's fully informed as to what the situation was or is.
For me, it's just that he's hurt and he's pissed off with his family for lying to him for 20 some odd years. He probably feels like he could have handled that truth and deserved to know. And for some reason, his family chose not to ever tell him about it. And I think that wounds him.
There's a double whammy there too with that. Remember, we'd been speculating recently that in the same moment where, you know, Kylo or Snoke's kind of telling Kylo this stuff, and Luke can possibly be there, and Snoke can tell Luke some kind of, like, you know, truth bomb about the Jedi that changes his whole view of what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
Because we said it, like, again, what prompts Luke to seek out the first Jedi Temple?
Oh, yeah. No, there's no question there. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up? I mean, I to answer Bradley's question, I think it's unlikely that Snoke was running the academy with Luke. Though I think it's unlikely. That's my final answer.
No,
but I don't think it's impossible that Snoke may have appeared to be a friend at some point.
That's it, and that's the most important thing here. Is I think that Bradley's brought to the fore the fact that the way that these, I haven't really thought about it again that much, so it's really good that you're bringing it to light, you know, like the family does know of Snoke, or I'm getting the impression now that they knew of him prior to the events of what happened anyhow. Like, Snoke was a character within their life.
Well, there's just too many key moments not defined yet. Right? Like, the establishment of the First Order has only lightly been touched on at different points in time after Jedi, but you never see who's really in charge of it. So we assume Snoke, but we don't know where he is at this point. Jeez. You got me, Bradley.
Yeah, but at least, again, yeah, dude, we didn't, what is it, destroy your theory to Holy Jakku. It's actually quite cool. Like, you brought something to the fore anyhow.
Yeah, it's a new angle that I had not previously considered. I think it needs to be considered that Snoke maybe presented himself as a friend before any of this. All right. Bradley, thank you, sir.
Well done, Bradley. Good question.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what you have next. That's going to be a tough one to top, Bradley. All right. Boys, that is the end of episode 78. Thank you, guys.
Hey, we made it.
Yeah. And thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks again to Ads and Bradley for their great questions. Really great questions this week. And check out StarWarsCommonwealth.com. There's going to be a lot of great programming coming out this week. That much I know, and because it's been routine. It has been a constant at the network for many months now. And while you guys are checking that out, you can also find us on social media. Corey, you're on Twitter as
Chop Rules with a Z. Don't you forget that.
What?
Come on now.
James, where can the good people find you?
Unlike Corey, I'm in Canada, and I'm at Tommy Bombadil 1.
I am at Tumbling Saber on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Come check us out. We want to talk Star Wars with you. Happy to tell you that Journals of the Willing is back this week. Me and Steven will be back talking about Screaming Citadel Part 2 and any news about comics or books that may break between now and then. So we're off. We hope you're off to a good week. And we will talk to you later, guys.
Self-redeeming qualities, have they hindered me? Hindering, was I blind to see that watching you walking away from me. Were you watching me?